Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 665 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking with Leanne. She's an adult living with type 2 diabetes, and I am genuinely excited to bring you this conversation. I'm going to explain why after the music, but for now, I just need you to remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. If you're a U.S. resident who has type 1 diabetes or is the caregiver of someone with type 1, I need you to go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and fill out their survey. That's all I need you to do. When you do this, you're going to be supporting people with type 1 diabetes, you'll be supporting the show, and you'll just be doing a good thing. The survey is completely anonymous, HIPAA compliant, and it's not hard. I mean, you take those little BuzzFeed quizzes. This is way easier, and it actually helps somebody. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Dexcom G6 Continuous Glucose Monitor. Learn more and find out if you're eligible for a free 10-day trial at dexcom.com/juicebox. The podcast is also sponsored by Omnipod, makers of the Omnipod DASH, and they have a free trial that you also may be eligible for. Theirs is 30 days long. What? Omnipod.com/juicebox. Find out if you're eligible for that free 30-day trial of the Omnipod DASH. Okay, before we get started, let me just tell you that for a very long time, I've wondered and wondered about how to help people with type 2 diabetes. I've witnessed people with type 1 benefit from community and from this podcast, from the feeling that they're not alone, from others being willing to share what works for them. And it's been life-changing for people with type 1. I've also seen plenty of entities try to start type 2 communities, and they never take off. I mean, I'm sure they're lovely for the people that find them, but they never get wide enough to throw a net that can catch people and bring them in. After I've seen what this podcast has accomplished for type 1s and how far it's traveled and how willing the listeners have been to share it with doctors and friends and strangers online and anyone who they think it may help, I've come to believe that this is a special group of people. And I think we all know someone who has type 2 diabetes. So I'm going to start sharing stories of people living with type 2 diabetes. And I'm going to count on you, the listener, to try the episode, even though it might not have anything to do with you. Maybe your kid or you have type 1, and I don't know. I'm just hoping you might dive in and listen and hear these people's stories and share them with others. Because I think this is how we build a valuable type 2 community. And I'm going to give it a try. So if you're up for helping, check out Leanne's story today and share it with someone who you know that has type 2 diabetes. I'm kicking off this series, which, by the way, I'm calling Type 2 Stories, with Leanne, because she was just delightful. And I had such a great time talking to her. And she shared what her life with type 2 is like. And there'll be another episode coming up soon with John. And hopefully, if you have type 2 diabetes, you might hear this and think, I'm going to add my voice to that as well. Please reach out. If you have type 2 and you want to be on the show, I want to talk to you. I want to hear everybody's stories. What it's like to live with type 2, the confusion, dieting, exercise, what it's like to talk to doctors, friends, family members, the whole thing. I want to weave a generous and rich tapestry so that others can understand what type 2 is like. And so that people living with type 2 may find, this is my hope, that they may find the commonality and the answers that they need to live better with type 2.
I'm Leanne. I'm type 2 diabetic. I've been type 2 since, the first time was gestational diabetes in 2006. And then I was diagnosed in 2009 with diabetes.
Okay. So you've had type 2 for like a dozen years?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So you're definitely a type 2.
Yep. Definitely. I've been tested. My daughter's type 1. So we did all the testing and everything's negative.
Okay. When was your daughter diagnosed with type 1?
August of last year.
Oh, recently?
Yeah.
At what age?
12.
12. Okay. Are you drowning a puppy? What's going on back there? I just heard a weird noise.
I'm drowning a puppy.
You are? I knew it. I just knew it. No, do you have a puppy?
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you get?
My grandson has a little pug for his emotional support animal.
Oh, no kidding. That's I mean, as long as he doesn't mess up the podcast, I don't care one way or the other. Okay, so how old are you now, Leanne?
I am 52 tomorrow.
52. You've had happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. So a dozen years since you're 40, type 2. We'll probably get to your daughter at some point, but I want to really start with you. What do they say to you when you have diabetes when you're 40? Like, what kind of like direction do you get from a doctor is my question.
Well, when I was pregnant, they put me on insulin. I went straight to insulin. Mm-hmm. And then after my daughter was born, they tried the insulin with metformin and glipizide and all kinds of, I mean, I've been through the whole rigmarole of pills. Mm-hmm. I was on a sliding scale of insulin. So I took 10 units with every meal and it just wasn't working. But they kept saying that I was non-compliant.
What does that mean? Did you ate more food than they gave you insulin for, or less food than you gave insulin for?
I guess. I don't know. I did exactly what they said. They always said to eat, between 60 and 80 carbs per meal. Well, I thought that was kind of a lot. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even eating that. I went very, very low carb. I actually did the 500 calorie diet for a while.
Wow.
I lost 100 pounds and still insulin resistant, Mm-hmm. So I went through their roller coaster ride for 12 years.
Leanne, did they call you non-compliant for eating fewer carbs than they asked you to eat?
Because my blood sugars would stay around 500.
Oh, okay. So you were eating, no kidding. So
yeah,
you needed more insulin.
I needed a lot more.
And they were like, just take a little bit of this with your dinner. And then when your blood sugars came back, they just figured you weren't taking the insulin at all, but you were.
Right.
I understand. Okay.
Or the pills. So, but I was doing everything they told me to do. And it was kind of like, they were thinking that I couldn't be doing it because my blood sugars were still so high.
I don't understand why somebody wouldn't believe you if you told them what you were doing.
I don't know. I guess they figure, type 2, if you're really doing these things, then you shouldn't have any problem.
Yeah. Oh, no, they weren't right about that. Were you just seeing a regular general practitioner?
Yes.
Okay. Do you still see the same doctor?
No. I was diagnosed when I was living in Alaska. I was seeing my the doctor that my mother saw for her diabetes.
Oh, okay. Your Dr. Methuselah? Is that who you were saying?
It's we back then we did the best we could. We had the intermediate, I call it, insulin, the cloudy stuff you got to roll in your hands. We did the best we could with what we had,
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't a whole lot of, and there's still not a whole lot of education around it. So
no, I know it's one of the reasons I want to talk to some more people with type 2 to shine a light on the fact that I don't think you guys are given very good information at all most of the time. You said you lost 100 pounds with your shift, and did that change your insulin needs?
Nope.
No. All right. Now let's be fair.
I'm still a 1-to-4 carb ratio.
Let us be fair. Did you go from 1,000 pounds to 900 pounds?
No.
Okay.
I'm about 165 now.
Wow.
I'm a firefighter, EMT.
Okay.
A home care aide and a CNA.
You're pretty active during the day then.
I'm very active.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have a little farm.
All right. Okay. See, people share your details with me. We're never going to get the other stuff out. But what do you mean you have a little farm?
Well, we have goats and chickens and horses and dogs and cats and lizards, and so I'm constantly repairing fences or feeding animals and mucking stalls, so it's not like I'm sitting on my butt and lazy all day.
Yeah, no, you're busy and you're moving, and you're just resistant to insulin.
Very.
And your mother had type 2 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
My mother, my sister, my grandmother.
Was there anything to take? Oh, really? Your mother, your sister, your grandma. So everybody, is there anything that they did that was successful that you were able to mimic, or do you guys not even talk about it? Like, how is it discussed?
Well, my mother passed away in 2007 from diabetes, from complication of diabetes.
Okay. What was the complication?
My sister has kidney disease.
What was your mother's complication?
Well, she went blind. She ended up with kidney cancer, and the treatment for kidney cancer just pretty much wiped her out.
Gotcha. And now your sister has kidney disease.
Uh-huh.
And this is from her diabetes as well?
Yes.
Okay. Were they as active as you are?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think anybody in my family is as active as I am.
There's no way to be as active as you are. Well,
I'm like the Energizer Bunny, man.
How would you describe living with type 2? Like, I mean, from a perspective of, I think first your information that you have, like your set of marching orders, instructions. What is that like?
Well, there's pretty much, I mean, all the information that we were given is wrong. If you ask me, it's all wrong.
Okay.
All of it.
How so?
When my daughter was diagnosed, I threw out all my pills. I threw out everything, and I started from scratch. Because a light bulb, I was talking to the diabetes specialist. She said, well, you know more about all this than I do. And I was like, and that's when a light bulb went off. And it was like, okay, we're going to start over. So I found my Basal. And then I started working on my insulin carb ratio and my sensitivity factors. And from there, I went to the doctor, and she's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I mean, my A1C went from over 14 down to 5.6.
Over 4? No kidding. How much time?
In 5 months.
And this was after you watched your daughter have type 1. So what were you watching about the type 1 that made you think I could be doing this for myself?
Well, it just made sense because, I know how insulin works, and I knew a lot more than I thought I knew, because I was listening to what the doctors were saying. Here, take this, here, do it like this, do it like that. But until they started talking carb to insulin ratio and basal rates, that's when the light bulb went off, and I went, we're doing this all wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because no matter what I do, I'm insulin. I'm
It doesn't feel like you ever
insulin
have enough.
dependent.
You never have enough insulin, and you definitely most assuredly need it. It's not just enough to take a pill.
Right.
Right. So, well, how did you learn for your daughter? Like, what was that process like? She's diagnosed, and then who teaches you how to take care of her?
Nobody. I mean, the podcast. I just started listening to the podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought maybe you got some like great information from a doctor and you started using it for yourself. But
Nope.
okay.
Actually, when I had the meeting with the diabetes educator, she said, well, you already know everything you need to know. You just need to know how, you need to apply it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's when it dawned on me that, if I'm producing insulin, but I can't use it, what's the difference with her not producing insulin and needing it?
Yeah, nothing really. The end result is that you don't have insulin and you need it.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, I might not go into ketoacidosis, but, or have lows without insulin, but, she's 12 and she needs insulin. And I just thought, wow, this makes sense that if I were to treat mine just like I treat hers, maybe we'll get somewhere.
Right. So now are you using a basal insulin and a mealtime insulin?
I am actually right now looping with the pump with Omnipod.
Okay. All right. All right, Leanne. Okay. All right. So you just basically were like, all right, everyone's got diabetes. Mine's going terribly. Then she gets it. Was there any fear there? Like when she got it, were you like, God, I can't even take care of my own. How am I going to take care of hers?
No, because, that mom brain kicked in and said, all right, this has got to stop.
Gotcha. I got you. So
I've got to live a long time now,
Right.
I can't die when I'm 55.
Well, at the very least, yeah. We need you to stay around and stay healthy. So, all right. Well, how do you find the podcast?
I actually joined another Facebook group, and somebody in there mentioned it, and so that's where I went.
Okay. All right. And so you went there, you learned about the show, went and checked out some episodes, watched some people online talking about diabetes, took it back, applied it to your daughter, and you were having, how long did it take you? You just said, but I forget the time frame. You got it down pretty quickly, right?
Yeah. She was diagnosed August 12th, and it was November 7th, my A1C was down to, I think it was 7. And then in December or January, actually, I had it down to 5.6.
What about hers?
Hers went from 12.9 to 6.1.
No kidding. In a similar time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. How would you describe your diet? Is it still low calorie, or is it low carb? Is it pretty average?
It's pretty average. I mean, we mostly eat like farm to table type because, we're 25 or so miles away from the nearest grocery store.
Okay.
But we have bread, we have cookies. we have the normal things. I've never been one to buy a lot of chips and high fat, high carb stuff anyway.
Okay.
So
it's not,
we go out to eat once a week and we definitely load on carbs then.
Gotcha. But you're eating like quite honestly, like vegetables, meat, things that you've raised yourself.
Yes.
Okay. 25 miles from a grocery store. I am 3 miles from 25 grocery stores, I think. I just realized as you were saying it, I was like, there's no end to how many grocery stores I could get to within a couple of miles. Are you just out in the, you're just in a more rural area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We live, like I said, 25 miles out from a small town.
So you're not 25 miles away from a big grocery store. You're 25 miles away from just having access to anything.
Well, yeah.
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 That's interesting. How do you like living like that? I mean, you were in Alaska prior, right? So you're used to being rural, but.
Yeah, but in Alaska, I lived right there in the university district.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I was right across the street from the hospital and the college. So.
Oh, you were more near things in Alaska than you are now where you are.
Right.
Do you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. I don't like to be bothered. I don't like people nowadays.
You don't want to be bothered by people. I know what that feels like. Is that scary? Or like, how do you get your insulin?
I drive to town.
Somebody's not mailing it to you?
No,
Okay.
no, I drive to town. I don't trust the mail because we never know when we're going to get it.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So you drive, and then are you and your daughter using the same kind of insulin or using different kinds?
No, we use the same kind. I made sure, I tried to keep us on the same kind just so that we don't run out and it's interchangeable.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. And
so whatever she goes to, I'm going to go to.
how were you able to get a doctor to prescribe an insulin pump for you?
Actually, I just called up Omnipod and I called my doctor and I said, you need to approve this because this is what I'm doing. And she said, okay. Once I started bringing my A1C down, she was like, whatever you want, man, whatever works.
Oh, okay. So you showed that you knew what you were doing and then she kind of got out of the way.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. She's asking me what I need, what I want, what I need, because she doesn't know a whole lot about them.
That's really something. I love that you just, I've said before under my breath, maybe out loud a couple of times, just call the company and get a process started and then just put the pressure on your doctor to just sign off on it.
Yep.
For the people who are like, oh, my doctor says I have to wait a year or whatever they say.
I wasn't about to take any of that. They say that you have to have your blood sugars under control before you can do anything. But the way they're giving you the instructions, you're never going to have it under control like that. Mm-hmm. I can't take 10 units for 5 carbs or 10 units for 60 carbs. That makes no sense.
So they give you this goal to get to and no instructions or tools on how to get to it, and then tell you if you get to the goal on your own, then we'll give you the thing you really need.
Right.
Yeah, and there's no way that's going to happen.
Right.
It is an interesting situation. I do wonder what the thought, sometimes you wonder what people are thinking. You find out they're not thinking anything. But I was just wondering like what the thought process was there for how do you tell somebody, I need you to jump over this wall and then hide the ladder from them, tell them the only way,
right.
The only way they're allowed to breathe or eat is if they get over the wall. It doesn't really make any sense at all. Actually, the entire thing doesn't make sense because I'm not saying like, I mean, I hear your story and I'm excited for you that you found something that works, but I'm not even here saying like type 2 should just always be on insulin or always should be in an insulin pump. I'm saying that there's something that's going to work for everybody. It could be, for some people, it could just be diet and exercise. For some people, it could be, an oral medication and diet and exercise, or, maybe some people like you just need the insulin and it doesn't matter if you lose, I mean, my goodness, almost half your body weight. And,
right.
It still didn't help you. So, I mean.
Well, and they say on the average, if you're pre-diabetic or just diagnosed with diabetes, if you lose on average 30 pounds, you can quote unquote reverse it. Well, that's not really true.
For you. I mean, you lost 30 pounds even 3 times.
Even for a lot of people, because they're still going to be insulin resistant when they eat carbs.
Yeah.
So you can eat a low carb diet. I mean, if you don't eat carbs, you won't need insulin.
Do you need your basal from the pump, whether you're eating or not?
My basal's running 24/7.
How much?
I get like 84 units of basal a day right now.
Wow, no kidding. Are you using like U500 or something like that, or are you using?
Nope. I'm using the just the 100. I tried to get the 200, but my insurance is really having a cow.
They don't want to do that.
So instead of doing that, I just told my doctor I said, well, then just prescribe the Omnipod, change every 24 hours.
Okay. And do you put a new pod on every day?
I don't. I try to, because I only eat usually 1 meal a day.
Okay.
I run on coffee. and so I'm averaging about 125 units a day.
Okay. All right. So you're making it 18, 20 hours, something like that, changing.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
I'm making it usually about 36 hours.
36. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know. I just did the math backwards there. Okay. Well, yeah. It's funny for some people who are like, oh, I can't believe I have to change my pump. It won't last the whole time. Like it lasts as long as it lasts. You still don't have to give injections during all that time. Right. And you still get the benefit of the pump running your basal, and right. So you don't even see that as a problem, right? You just see that as what needs to be.
Right. And I like, because I'm looping, it'll self-adjust. So if my insulin needs go down, my pump's going to fix it.
No kidding. Are you on the auto bolus branch or on the Pete's branch that does the by basal?
I have the auto bolus branch too.
Okay.
Or whatever that is.
That's great.
I have the option. I was doing it for a while.
Did you not need it? Do you not need the auto bolusing?
Not usually. It works pretty good. Like right now I'm running at, 89. I don't get over 120 anymore ever. Unless I'm really stressed or something.
Really stressed? What do you mean? Like a sheep ran away or something like that?
like a teenager.
Oh, I see. You got kids. You got to worry.
And I'm biting my tongue real hard.
I understand what you're saying. Well, listen, if you're going to tell me you live on a small farm and you expect me to make fun of Canadians when they come on, then I got to, you know what I mean? I got to equal time. How do you feel versus how you felt prior? Has it any impact on your day-to-day life and energy and things?
Oh, like that? Tons. I mean, before, if I was to clean my house, I might have to lay down and sleep for 2 days. My whole body ached all the time. And once I got the insulin in me that my body needed, man, I have energy that just won't quit. Good for you. No shit. Oh, I cursed. I didn't mean to curse. I'm so thrilled because, Leanne, I don't know if it comes to surprise to you or not, but it's incredibly difficult for me to get type 2s to come on the podcast. Like, it is not easy. I try, and there's just not many of them that are willing to do it. And I think it's because, well, why do you think it is? I think it's because there's such a stigma, and they're so used to everybody judging them. I gotcha. Okay. I always thought it was because they don't know what to talk about, because I don't think anybody understands their type 2. I think they're, well, maybe, the question is, do they have good control? I mean, or are they kind of floundering out there? I mean, I see, well, I was just responding to a post on your page, and it's, so many people just don't know what to do. I know. Because they've been given bad information. Or no information. Or none. Yeah. I just interviewed a guy the other day. I don't know when it'll come out, but he was interviewed. He was diagnosed as a kid, like in his teens, and just no one helped him, and he lived for so many years, not even understanding the simplest things about his diabetes, and had a real horrible impact on his life. And Right.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that even with my blood sugars up between 3 and 500, I don't have any long-term effects. My kidneys are good. I don't have any neuropathy. I was starting to get neuropathy, and then it went away when my insulin got adjusted.
Leanne, did your daughter getting type 1 diabetes kind of save your life?
I think so, yeah. I tell her all the time. And she's like, well, we're buddies now. And I said, in more ways than one.
Listen,
but
don't give her too much
power. I tell her all the time, you, if it hadn't been for you being diagnosed, that I don't think everything would have clicked.
Right. Yeah. Don't give her too much power though, or it'll go to her head. But I hear what you're saying. Like that's, she'll be like, I did save your life. I'm not cleaning my room. Well, that's, it's so the really super interesting thing about talking to you is that there's no discernible difference between your story and a type 1 story.
Right. Other than I don't, like I said, I won't go into ketoacidosis,
Sure,
but
sure. Yeah. Your body's going to hold off a little, like hold it down to some degree. Right. And if you stop eating, your blood sugar comes back down ish eventually, I imagine.
Ish. So what I had to do, even on my basal, she had me on like 30 units of basal. I was still running over 300.
Yeah.
So I started titrating my basal up until my blood sugars in the morning were under 150.
Okay.
And I left it there for a little bit, and then I went down under 100, and I left it there for a little bit. Then I went down to about 80.
Leanne, you and I jive, right? You get me, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I could tell. What's your total basal for a day? Because I have a guess.
84.
Here. 84. Wow, that is. But it must have taken some real nerve to get to that number, huh? Seriously, like you must have. You're a little ballsy doing that, is what I'm saying. Like that's
well,
it's well done.
I wasn't dropping low, so. Let's go another unit.
Yeah, let's go another unit.
Let's do another 5.
Do it again, boys. So you're like 3.5 an hour ish around there?
Yep. Sometimes even more. It just kind of depends, how loop works.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see it jack up, right? Does it ever go away? Like, do you ever see it take your basal away?
For maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but not for very long.
Just looking for balance. It doesn't care.
Right.
You never look like you're getting low to the algorithm.
See, like right now, I'm running 90 and my basal is 5.1.
Running 90 and your basal's 5.1. Gotcha. So it's seeing you try to go up and it's being aggressive with your basal holding you down.
Yep.
And do you see any difference between how you manage yourself and how you manage your daughter? If you're using insulin, you might want an insulin pump. If you might want an insulin pump, you definitely might want the Omnipod. How do you know? Well, you could try it with the free 30-day trial of the Omnipod DASH. Find out right now if you're eligible at omnipod.com/juicebox. Now that I've been sure to tell you about the 30-day trial, I want to tell you some more things about the Omnipod. Like it's tubeless. You can swim with it, shower with it, jump in a lake with it, jump up and down with it. It's not connected to any tubing or any devices. You understand what I'm saying? Every other insulin pump that you can buy has a tube that comes off of it. So there's it's inserted into your body in the infusion set. These are the other ones I'm talking about. And then tubing could be a foot long, 2 feet long, 3 feet long, a lot of tubing. You're hiding it in your clothes, etc. And then it's connected to the insulin pump. And then that's where the insulin goes. You pick that up to push buttons on it and stuff like that. You clip that on your belt or stick it in your bra. You see what could be happening here. Omnipod, not like that at all. Omnipod is a little pod. It has everything you need inside of it. When you need to talk to it, you have a handheld controller that is not attached to it. It works through the magic, whatever, technology. Like, you know how you can touch something like a remote control and then on the other, like your TV moves? Same thing with the Omnipod. You pick up the PDM, the personal diabetes manager. You tell it like, I'm having 43 carbs, PDM, push button, and bing. It's not magic, it's technology, but and it doesn't make a bing sound. But I think you're following along with what I'm saying. We're getting a little far away from the point now. The Omnipod is not attached to anything, right? It's just the pod that you wear. Nothing else is attached to you. And you don't have to take it off to swim or do any of the other things that you might have to remove these tube pumps for. You understand? Like adults, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. And other things like that. For instance, soccer. Head over now to omnipod.com/juicebox and see if you're eligible for that free 30-day trial of the Omnipod DASH. And while you're in the mood to be on the internet and get stuff for free, how about a free 10-day trial of the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor? Because you may be eligible for that as well. You know where you'd find out about that? At my link, dexcom.com/juicebox. By the way, the links to these sponsors and all of the sponsors are at juiceboxpodcast.com. And right there in the podcast player, there's like little show notes right there in the podcast player that you're listening in. If you can't remember dexcom.com/juicebox, which I think you probably could remember, but I digress. The Dexcom G6, it does some good stuff, baby. It shows you your blood sugar in the real time on your phone. I am picking up my phone now and swiping up, and I am going to tell you that Arden's blood sugar is 132. She gets a little bit of a rise from a late night snack. It seems steady, like it's not going to come down. And in a minute, I'm going to talk to her about maybe making another bolus. Not only can I see Arden's blood sugar, but up to 9 other people could. At our house, it's just my wife and I. But you might want your aunt to also look, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your school nurse, or somebody like that. Anyway, you can choose up to 10 people to see your diabetes data if you want them to see it. And if you don't want them to see it, you don't have to show it to anybody. Dexcom also has alarms that you set to tell you when you are rising or falling or hitting a threshold that you want to know about. For us, we get an alarm when my daughter gets to 70 and 120. You could make your settings whatever you like. Maybe you heard that and think, ooh, that's a good safety precaution. You'd be right. Or maybe you heard that and thought, I probably could do better with my insulin if I knew when I was rising and falling. I think you'd be right about that as well. There are a ton of ways to use the Dexcom G6 in your favor, and you're only going to find out about them when you go to dexcom.com/juicebox and start to look into it. Honestly, the Dexcom and the Omnipod are great devices for anyone using insulin. I hope you check them out using my links. For full safety, risk information, and free trial terms and conditions for the Omnipod, you can visit omnipod.com/juicebox. All right, now let's get back to Leanne.
No.
It doesn't seem different to you.
No, I just jacked her basal up too.
Well, she's getting to that age, right? Like periods and things like that are probably here.
She's getting ready, I can tell because her blood sugars are creeping up for no reason. So I was like, oh, nope.
Well, you're not going to have any trouble with that. That'll look like a joke to you. You'll be like, I just turn this up a little bit here and we'll be all set. Just her basal's not going to go up to 3, right? I mean, probably.
Well, let me see. I got her follow right here. So she's right now at 1.5, but just a little bit ago she was at like 2.8.
No kidding. So she's running the algorithm as well.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You guys are kicking ass. This is excellent. Seriously.
I was the guinea pig. I got the Omnipod. I had it both for her and for me within 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. No,
because I wasn't taking no for an answer.
Right.
And her endocrinologist is like, whatever you want, because I think you know what you're doing. And I said, because she was in honeymoon and they don't usually like people to have the pumps in honeymoon. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, so she's got a 1 to 250 carb ratio. Give me the dang pump so that I can give her micro doses and keep her blood sugars lower.
Yeah.
And so they did. And so I tried it on me first. I started November 2nd pumping, and I started her on the 10th.
Leanne, you figured this all out in a very short amount of time. Seriously, it's wonderful. It really is. Helpful to be able to practice on yourself, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Take away some of the fear.
I played around with it, and I had a couple of pretty good lows before we know what that does.
What's that? Did you ever see Apollo 13 when he puts the piece of tape over top of a switch and just says no on it?
Right.
I think it vented the capsule of its air or something like that. They were getting a little squirrely at the end, and I don't know if any of that's historically accurate, but Lovell looks at the guy and he's like, "What's that for?" And he's like, just in case. So you know what switches not to throw anymore. Listen, we don't know each other, and you're an adult. I don't know, you might be older than me even. I have no idea, I guess. But I'm incredibly proud of you. This is really wonderful. I mean, I'm loving hearing this.
Yeah. So I like with my daughter, I don't mind, and I see a lot of people, oh my goodness, they're under 100 at night. What do I do? I don't mind. I let my daughter coast at 75, 80. As long as she's steady, she's good.
Yeah. Arden had a great overnight last night. It was super steady, and she was kicking ass all night long, actually. She tried to get a little low around 3:30 maybe, but the algorithm got in the way of that, and that was coming down from a correction, to be honest. She had a correction at like midnight, and it took about 3.5 hours before it was a little too much, and then it was able to catch it. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think steady is steady, and steady at any number is good. If you're not going to drop, then I'd like to be as close to normal as possible.
Right.
Wow. I don't even think there's much to say to you. You're just like, you just took the podcast. You're like, I'll do all this. Don't worry. I did it. Now we're done. Let's get back to fixing the fence.
Well, let's rock and roll. If you're going to do something, you might as well go balls in, right?
Yeah. Why not? Did you try telling your sister about this?
I did. And actually she told me she was in, I think it was stage 2 or 3 kidney disease. And I said, okay. She said, well, the doctor said she doesn't think it's reversible. I said, all right, this is what you're going to do. You're going to stop screwing around. I won't watch my mouth. You're going to stop screwing around.
Before you keep going, I want to point out that screwing around seemed like a watch your mouth, but balls deep you were okay with.
Right. Well, I wasn't going to say screwing. So.
I love your line. Your line is very jagged.
Right?
I'm enjoying it. I'm sorry, you said to your sister.
So I told her she needed to get back into her diabetes specialist and insist that they help her find a insulin to carb ratio and a good basal, because she was on 5 different insulins.
Really? Like they just kept trying different
plus
ones,
pills.
or she was using multiple kinds of insulin at the same time.
She was using like the weekly one, the once daily one, then her long acting, and then it was crazy.
Sounds like her doctor did not know what to do at all. Just kept throwing things at her. Okay.
She's got her blood sugars down to right around 130.
That's great.
Now, but getting her to listen to a podcast or listen to me very well is kind of hard.
Did you tell her I was lovely and that she would enjoy it?
She's just, I don't know. When
about.
she's ready to take control, I guess she will. But I'm not here to push anything on anybody. And
of course not. No. I'm not saying you should. I'm also, it's just interesting. I'm not saying you're going to reverse her kidney disease, but I mean, even to slow things down or stop progression would be a big deal.
Yeah. Well, my stepdad, he had diabetes and he was on dialysis, and I took care of him till he passed away too. It's hard to watch somebody go down that path.
Yeah. That sounds like you might stop the stop the circle in your family. I mean, at least in your immediate family.
I'm really hoping.
Yeah. We're all not alive just to grow up and help somebody else die and then to be put in that situation for the next person. You know, like it would be nice if and not unreasonable for people to live healthy lives and finish up, you know, somewhat reasonably. You know what I mean? Like you're meant to be, like in a car accident or something like that. I'm just kidding. I mean, like, you know, like you know, old on your.
I'm envisioning, you know.
This is my luck. I'd get myself together one way and then a rock would just fall on my head. But seriously, like you know, people deserve a shot at a longer, healthy life. You know, your end years shouldn't be, you know, helping someone else to pass gracefully, knowing that you're about to ask another person to do that for you. And, you know, it's just terrible.
Yeah. Well, you know, those in my family that have had diabetes, with the exception of my uncle, I guess I just found out my uncle had type 1. All I knew as a kid is he had this packet, this cool little case that he kept all his insulin and stuff in. But I just recently found out it was type 1 because I was like, whoa, you know.
No kidding.
And then he lived to be like 84. But my grandmother, my mother, none of, you know, my mother passed away at 66 and my grandmother was 72, but she had just gotten diabetes not too long. She was like in her 60s.
Right.
So
well, yeah, that's too young. I mean, maybe back then, maybe a couple of generations ago. So, I mean, my grandmother died at 73. It's funny though. Like, I don't know about for you, but like I look at a picture of myself at my age now and a picture of like my father at 50 and he looks 75 to me when he was 50. And
right.
My grandmother passed at 72 or 73. And I mean, in my mind's eye, she was much older.
Right.
So I know there's a little bit of benefit that goes on. She also worked much harder than I am ever going to work. You know, she grew up on a farm and you know, she had a different life. My father worked in a factory. I didn't have to do that for very long. I got out of there in my early 20s. So, but still, like I get the idea. It's just, I don't know. Like it just seems reasonable that you should have been able to take these experiences that your extended family had, learn something from it, and improve. Right? Like that doesn't sound crazy to do, and you did it. Like it's wonderful.
I would hope.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it to me. Do you feel like it's going that way?
I do, because, you know, like I said, I had a pretty good understanding of how insulin worked, but the way they were telling me to use it just never worked. It never worked for me. Because
you weren't using enough.
Right.
Right.
Because like I said, I have a 1-to-4 carb ratio and sometimes it's 1-to-2.
Really? But you don't know, you won't know when, or it just kind of pops up and happens to you.
Yeah. So, and in that instance, you know, I watch it on the loop and I say, oh, well, we're going to crush that before it gets out of hand.
Are you running your diabetes like a video game? Pretty much.
I am.
Yeah.
Score.
I have talked to a couple people recently who seem to put it in that situation too. Leanne, give me a second, please. I think Arden's oh wait, I got a hold of her. She's in the shower, maybe. Her blood sugar just dipped down. And I was texting her for the last couple of minutes. She wasn't answering me, but she just answered me now. So we're good.
That's funny. My daughter and I both, when we take a hot shower, we go up.
Yeah, I hear it from everybody. You know, and you've heard me talk to Jenny about it, and Jenny's like, showers don't affect people's blood sugar. Like she's just, you know, like I think it's different for different people. Like it just, it really is.
Ours goes up, and then our foot on the floor is we both drop.
No kidding. You wake up in the morning and get lower?
Yep.
Interesting.
I'll wake up, you know, in the 70s, and by the time I get my feet down on the floor, my alarms are going off.
What happens to bedtime? You lay down in bed. Do you get higher or lower when you lay down?
Nothing.
Nothing happens at bedtime. Okay.
I just stay pretty steady all night.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Boy, the whole thing.
My daughter sometimes will go a little higher, but a lot of hers are right now I'm pretty sure hormones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dreading the day, but
Oh, you're not gonna stop it. So,
I know.
Tell me a little bit about her being diagnosed. What did you notice first?
I noticed the frequent urination. And I called up her pediatrician. I said, I need to have her tested for diabetes. And she said, oh, bring her in. We'll just, she's probably got a UTI. I said, I'm telling you, it's not a UTI. There's too much urine and too often. So we went in, they tested her for a UTI, nothing, but they found ketones. And then they did a blood sugar and an A1C. Okay. And I knew right then. So on the way home, I changed my plans for dinner because we were going to have more carbs for dinner. And I did a low carb dinner because her blood sugars are like 279 at that point, but her A1C was 12.9. So I was like, and she had ketones. So I was like, So I fed her low carb that night. And they called me back in the next morning and said, get her to the hospital.
Hold on one second for me, Leanne. This never happens. What's up, Arden? Yeah. Go ahead. Well, you need to go take care of that right now. Hold on one second. Leanne, can you give me 5 minutes and I'll be right back?
Yep.
I'm going to stop the recording, so feel free to pick your nose. Nobody will know, okay? Again, I'm sorry I'm back. So this is so embarrassing. I'm just going to tell you. Things don't usually go like this around here. But Arden, her blood sugar was getting a little low. So at first I was just texting her and saying like, hey, you need a juice. And she taps on the door and she's wrapped in a towel. Her girlfriends and her are going to dinner tonight and she's trying to get ready. And she's drinking a juice. She looks fine. I'm like, what's wrong? Like, I'm recording. I'm pointing to my ears as if she can't see the giant headphones on me. And she goes, where's mom? And I'm like, I don't know. I married your mom 25 years ago. Like, she stopped telling me where she was going quite some time ago, so I'm like, and so I'm like, what? So I finally said that she clearly, whatever was bothering her, she wasn't going to walk away. And I uncover my ear and I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, the dog had an accident downstairs, which, by the way, Leanne, never happens. Just never happens. And I'm like, well, go take care of it. She goes, and she's looking at me holding a juice box wrapped in a towel. She's like, I can't. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'll go do it. So I'm downstairs, and all I could think of is Leanne's talking about mucking the stalls. I'm mucking my dining room. You know what I mean? Oh my God, I give up.
Oh, I love it.
I give up. It was hard. It was hard. I would have been back 3 minutes sooner, but I was like, I've got to scald my hands with hot water and soap before I go back upstairs. Anyway, I apologize. That does not normally happen.
That's quite all right.
I don't usually walk away.
We understand those kind of emergencies.
I was going to say, perfect day for this, because you're going to just be like, that's fine. I don't mind. It's everybody else would be like, what happened? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, and I don't know what dog it was. So there's two dogs. So now I'm not sure which one's not feeling well, but it's one of them.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find out soon enough.
Oh, sure. It's a joy. Children, dogs, they're all great decisions I've made as an adult. Anyway, so I was trying to, Jesus. So, all right, let me try to get back on track here. So your daughter's diagnosis is kind of the point where I'm interested. So, when she's diagnosed, you're not getting much information for her either, right? It's just sort of your MDI at that point. Does anybody have a CGM, or has anybody ever mentioned a CGM to you or anything?
No. Well, she was prescribed the CGM before we left the hospital. When I talked to the diabetes specialist, actually, she was asking me questions and I'm answering her everything, that I've known. And she says, are you looking for a job? And I said, well, I don't think I have the qualifications to be a diabetes education specialist. But she did say that they were opening up a new clinic closer to where I was, and that I should really consider it.
Really? That's Jesus.
But yet my diabetes is totally unmanaged.
Yeah. You're standing there right now. You know, basically, boy, this is an insight, isn't it? You basically know about 10 words because you have type 2 diabetes. And she's like, you'd be a great person to help people around here.
Right.
Wow. Boy, that's a sign.
Well, I was explaining when the doctor walked in, I was explaining A1Cs to my daughter because, I know all of that. Mm-hmm. And I was even drawing it on the board, writing it on the board. And I said, if you have an A1C of 12.9, this means your blood sugars are averaging, and if you want to get under I said, well, what I said was you want to be around a 6, then you need to get your blood sugars here. And he said, actually, we want them at 7. And I looked at him like, have you lost your cotton picking mind?
Well, it's interesting. So you knew that much, but what was your A1C at that time? Like 11 something, right?
No, mine was actually like, well, I don't know. Right then, I'm not sure what it was. Okay. But I had fluctuated. The lowest I'd ever gotten in probably 10 years was a 7.
Okay.
And I knew how I felt at 7. I still felt like crap.
Right. How did you get to the 7? Was that just good luck? Or is that a lot of restricted eating?
That was a lot of restricted eating. Okay. A lot. I mean, I did the HCG diet, for goodness sake.
What is that? What?
Where you inject yourself with pregnancy hormones and only eat 500 calories a day with no carbs.
Leanne, who the hell are you? Wait a second.
I was desperate.
How did you get a hold of that?
Low carb and restrictive diet. I lost 100 pounds, but.
How did you get a hold of who? Did you buy this at a gym?
Oh, you don't even want to know.
Really? So, okay, but let's be serious for a second. So you're out there like on some sort of a black market trying to save your own life somehow.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, because, my husband and I, we've got 6 kids. And he passed away when my daughter that has type 1 was 5 months old.
I was going to say he passed away when he realized he was going to have to pay for 6 kids. That would have got me too.
Probably.
Okay.
And then I adopted 2 kids, and I have custody of another one. Plus, I have custody of my 2 grandsons. So
wait, hold on. 6, 7, 8. Is that 10?
11.
11? Did I lose count while you were talking?
I got 6.
Right.
I adopted 2.
That's 8.
I have custody of my cousin's child.
Oh, 9. And then the 2 grandchildren.
And then my 2 grandchildren.
No kidding. What state do you live in? Can I ask this question?
Washington.
Washington State.
Yep. I'm in Washington now.
Okay. All right. You and the 11 kids, the 17 dogs, the lizard, and all the other stuff.
Right. Well, most of my kids are grown. So
it was nice of them to leave.
Yeah.
Do you have like a line on the wall where you're like, listen, when you're this old, you got to get the hell out of here?
I just sent my 18-year-old is attending UAA.
Okay.
And then I have a 15-year-old, my 12-year-old, my 11-year-old grandson, my 8-year-old, she's my daughter, and my 6-year-old grandson.
Are there any other medical issues with all those kids?
No, but I do have, I have the trial net that I'm going to do for them because my cousin's child, my aunt, her grandmother had type 1 diabetes, but she's not blood related to me. So
you're just going to check. Did you get those kits through me by any chance?
I did.
Oh, send them back in. I get credit for them when you send them back in.
I'm gonna send them back in.
Thank you, Leanne.
I get everything through you. I do the surveys through you.
I appreciate it. Look, I mean, we're joking around. I'm having a lot of fun here, but I basically I was a huge help to you, right?
Yes. Yes. So any way I can repay that, that's what I'm going to do.
Send me a guinea pig. I'm kidding. Do not send me a live animal. I just assumed you. Please.
Well, I got a funny story about guinea pigs, but you probably don't want to hear it.
I don't know. Leanne, I might be up for anything you say. You don't know. Don't sell yourself short. You've said a lot here. I've been intrigued by every second of it so far. So don't sell yourself short, please. Okay, so you're managing her. They're saying a 7 for her, and you're saying no. I know that needs to be lower, but then you go home. And they do give you a Dexcom going out the door.
Well, we went on vacation the day after. I said, they released us on Sunday. They wanted us to stay till Tuesday for the education. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, no, we're going on vacation Monday morning.
So you just up and
with
left.
The education or not.
Yeah. What'd you take with you? Needles? Vials?
Yep. I took pins and extra needles and a vial, and here we go. Way. Blood testing kit.
And you just went. Where'd you go on vacation?
We went to Silverwood Amusement Park.
To an amusement park. Oh, sounds fun.
In Idaho.
There's an amusement park. See, there you go. Now you surprised me. Now you got my East Coast snobbiness out of me. I was like, there's an amusement park in Idaho? Why would there be an amusement? Meanwhile, why would there not be? But Idaho so that's a bit of a trip. Did you drive that?
Yep.
Nice. All those kids. You put them in a horse trailer?
With all the kids.
Where do they go in the car?
I got a big car.
Are they rolled up in a carpet on the roof, or how do you handle that?
I threatened a couple of them to be ornaments on the hood. But we broke down on the side of the highway. I had to repair my alternator right there.
Jesus Christ.
We got a ride on the back of a big tow truck. It was a fun adventure.
I bet you it was. And I'm now looking at pictures of Silverwood. Look at that. It's in Idaho.
It's cool.
There's trees around it and mountains.
Yep.
Yeah,
we rented we went through the B&B, and we rented a campsite with a tent and everything.
That sounds like fun. Very nice. And how did your daughter do being diagnosed? Was it stressful on her, or did she kind of roll with it?
She just rolled with it. She said, well, now I'm kind of like you. I said, well, kind of, yeah. She says, well, you got me. I got this.
Just like that. So she trusted you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I bet you that felt like a lot of pressure, because you were like, kid, I can't even take care of my own diabetes. Hold on a second.
It's like, I was hell bent on taking care of hers correctly, though. You know, I mean. No,
I understand. Oh, listen.
And that's when I realized, right away, I'd been struggling with mine for so many years that I was about to give up, just flat give up on management. And then, I don't know, when they said she has type 1, I went, ding.
Yeah. Not giving up quite yet. Well, listen, you should never give up. You're raising 11 children, 53 animals. You're a widow, and you can fix an alternator on the side of the road. I don't think you should ever give up, to be perfectly honest. You might be the last person left when this whole thing goes to hell. It just, really, you sound very capable. And, if this doesn't prove it to you, I wouldn't know what would. I would think just raising those kids would make you think you could do anything. But,
well, not like give up in life. But I was just,
yeah, no, I understand.
Starting to think that there was no treatment for me that was going to work, because I've tried everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big pill popper.
Yeah. No, the idea that just there's no answer, like this might just be my reality.
Right.
Yeah. I've got that kind of diabetes.
Yeah. And I was, thinking back, you reflect back on your mom and your stepdad, and you see the crap that they went through, and it's like, oh, I don't want do that.
No. Well, your mom lost her sight. Your sister's kidneys are going. Like, there's plenty for you to be scared of,
Yeah.
Is there any chance one of those 11 kids will name a kid Scott? Can I just throw that out there now? Like, try to get like you said, you'd do anything. I don't really need you to do much, but I would take a named child or a horse. A horse.
I don't know. We might be able to convince one.
Yeah. You don't know. It's probably not going to happen. They're going to have their own problems in life. And
they'd probably name it Benner.
You think? I'll take that.
That'd be a cool name. Benner.
Oh, cool. We'll roll with that then. I'll take it. I think it's, interestingly enough, because I'm adopted and my one brother has 2 stepchildren, but none of his own. And my other brother has a daughter. I think the bloodline stops with me. My dad had a brother who didn't have kids and he had a sister. So I'm right? Like I'm like yeah, it's gone. If one of my brothers doesn't have a boy, that's that.
Yep. Yeah. That's
okay. I mean, I don't care. I don't think it matters one way or the other. I got to be honest with you, Leanne. I'm not out here trying to keep this. I mean, it ain't so great. You know what I mean? I don't think the world's going to be, no offense to my brothers. They're wonderful people, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's of super importance to keep the name going, but that's interesting. My dad's name, I've never said my dad's name on here before. But my dad basically had a girl's name. And because of that, he had a nickname, and his nickname it was just the first 3 letters of his last name. Like, people called him Ben, but his name was not Ben. And right. If you and I sat here, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. If you and I sat here for the next 7 hours and I let you guess what my father's first name was, you'd never guess it. It literally was just, it's one of those things, like, I'd look at my grandmother and think, like, what were they thinking?
Is it Carol?
No, that would have made sense even. Do you want 3 more guesses? I'll give you 3 more guesses and I'll tell you. And I'm going to give you the first letter. It's L. The mind boggles.
No idea.
Leanne, right? Yeah. You're like, how could this be? It's a woman's name. It begins with L.
Lynn?
No, see? That's not even really a woman's name. That's a pretty androgynous name, right? Lynn? Lynn could be a man. My dad's given name was Laverne.
Laverne.
How does that even happen?
I have no idea. That's like Sue.
Yeah, there's a boy named Sue. That's exactly right. I didn't know we were going to do all country songs while we were sitting around together today. My father's name was Laverne. People called him Ben. So, and my mom, not a big fan of his. So I couldn't name a kid Ben, that's for sure. And nobody was naming a kid Laverne. They sound
kind of weird that he wouldn't go by Vern.
I never even
That's
thought
kind
of
of weird.
That. You're making sense. I don't know. All right, Leanne. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should have?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, what made you do this? Just because I asked for type 2s, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a impulsive, that ADHD. Sure, why not? And then it was like, oh, shit.
Did you rethink it as time was passing?
Yep. I was like, oh. But then talking to, John.
On the board.
Uh-huh.
Who also has type 2. He's coming on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then I was like, okay, we got this.
You can do it. Yeah. There's a small...
And
go ahead,
just seeing people needing help, I mean, it's a tough one because everybody wants to trust their doctors, and I don't trust doctors as far as I can throw them anymore.
Well, I mean, listen, if you get a good one, then you're lucky, and then you can. But if you start getting, if you're taking 6 different pills and injecting a bunch of stuff and your blood sugars, your A1C's in the 11s and your blood sugars are 400 and 500, I mean, somebody's not giving you the right answer. That's for sure. And that,
well, I guess what I really mean by that is when it comes to diabetes, it doesn't matter what type you are. If you don't take control of it, there's nothing the doctors can really do for you. I mean, they don't know you. Everybody is different.
Yeah. No, that honestly,
and they just go by protocol.
that is the most insightful thing anyone said on here in a while. You're 100% right. Really. You have to do this for yourself, and you have to take, I mean, common sense, I think, is of the utmost importance. You can't just fall into like patterns where you say, well, this is what they told me and it's not working, so then it must just not work. Like that can't be your answer. It's your health. Like at the end of poor health is death. Right. You know, like you can't, it's not like you're ignoring replacing a screen door on your house or a creaky board on a floor or something like that. You're not going to just start walking around it one day. Like you're going to die. Like you were on your way to dying, you know, and you figured that out. Like, and it's really interesting that you had the same exact kind of epiphany thing that I've heard so many people talk about on here. So many adult type 1s who would have described their care as shaky, maybe have a child or get married or have a child get diagnosed. And then they realize, oh God, I have to stay here. And I'm not on the quick path to staying here. I'm on the quick path to leaving, and I have to fix it. And the same thing happened to you. It's got nothing to do with diabetes or type 1. It's a human thing. Like you were faced with an ultimatum that didn't have an escape plan. And you were just like, all right, well, I'm not leaving. So I got to do something. And I'll be damned. Like, Leanne, with no training whatsoever and only a podcast under your arm, you're giving yourself 3.5 units of insulin an hour as a type 2 in a basal. Like that's a lot of, yeah, you're laughing, but it's a lot of common sense. It's a lot of caring about yourself. It's a lot of saying, I'm not going down without a fight. And that's all really important. You know, you need those things.
I don't do anything without a fight.
Well, I mean, listen, I wouldn't have went on that damn vacation after the kid got diagnosed. I tell you that much. I'd have been like, look, kids, we are not going to Silverwood right now. I need a minute. Well, but you were like, let's go. It's great.
Load up.
I
was in the hospital. I told my 15-year-old, I called home and I said, hey, little change of plans. I'm going to need you to pack all our bags for us. Make sure we all have swimming suits and clothes to wear.
And so, when we get home, we're still doing this. You know,
we had to buy hoodies. We had to buy.
But you hear people talking about being afraid to go to college, or, you know, how's my son going to do this? How's my daughter going to do that? You were just like, oh, we'll do it. It'll be all right. And you just did, you know?
Yep.
A lot of it's attitude.
I decided as soon as she was diagnosed and she was crying and she was like, I'll never be able to have this. And I said, listen, baby, you're going to be so sick of candy. You're not going to want it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. I've heard Arden be like, I don't want that. Please don't give me that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we actually don't use candy or anything like that to bring her blood sugars up anymore because she's so sick of it.
Yeah, I believe it. I really do.
And so, you know, all we do is eat.
Just have a meal.
Or I'll text her, eat, snack.
Yeah, no kidding. And she's doing okay. How much of it is she managing on her
own? Most of it.
Good for her.
I watch her follow app and I tell her, you know, if I see her trending down and she's in school not really paying attention, I'll just shoot her a little text. If she needs just a little bump, I'll say snack.
Yeah. But
if she needs a full-fledged stop that low, eat.
Good. And that's it. And that's how you guys are doing it. That's really wonderful.
That's it. Yeah. Matter of fact, she went to spend Christmas vacation. She spent a whole week at her friend's house.
By herself?
Yep.
All good. You didn't worry about her. But you watched her a little bit from a distance with a Dexcom follow?
I have alarms.
Yeah. Where are they set at, by the way, for her?
Let me check my other phone here.
And where do you set yours?
Mine? Oh, okay. Hold on. So her settings, I have her at 75.
Mm-hmm.
for her low to alert me. And then on the other app, on one app, and then on the other app, I have her at 70.
Okay.
So I know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And then her high is 180 right now, but we're bumping that down next week to 150.
Good for you. That's excellent. And what do you do for yourself?
So mine is set. My correction range is 70 to 80. My suspend is 70. My basal rates are 84. Yeah.
And you don't get very high, you're saying, anymore.
I don't get usually over 120.
That's excellent. Good for you. Wow. Yeah, now they are going to make you work in that clinic.
Well, I'm not as aggressive with hers because she has hormones going on. And
well, she's young.
So 180 with hormones is pretty good, I think.
No, I do too. I also think she hasn't been doing it that long. Like, you're talking like a professional here, but I mean, how long you been at this? Really not that long.
Right.
Is she honeymooning, do you think, at all, or no?
Oh, she's done with that now.
That you did see it in the beginning?
She was horribly bad. That's why I pushed for the pump so bad.
Right. Okay.
And then I got her on the pump. It's just been the last month that she quit
with
honeymooning.
Honeymoon. Okay. Is it getting?
Yeah, and then her needs went doubled.
No kidding. That quick. Yeah, that's what it's hard to, like, people come to me all the time. They're like, it can't be, like, it was just this. And now it seems so much more. I'm like, it can be, like, it can happen. It can happen quietly and slowly, or it can happen quick and loud, you know? There's no saying how it's going to end if you have a honeymoon that you're living with.
Right. So amazing. Like, for instance, you know, like I said, she's got hormones going on right now, and she's in range 97.5% of the time.
Yeah, that's great. You're doing terrific.
So,
are you thinking about the Omnipod 5, or are you going to stick with a loop?
I'm going to stick with loop. I like the flexibility of it, the better control, the tighter control. Now, you know, I'm glad that they have the Omnipod 5 for, you know, if she goes off to college or whatever, that will be an option for her. Or if something happens to me, that's an option for her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you had to, did you set that whole thing up yourself? Like, download the,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta be honest, I couldn't do it.
It was a challenge. I set that up. I set up Night Scout. I set up the Loop Follow. And then, of course, at school yesterday, she somehow reset her phone. And so she was stuck with her Basal, and I just upped it yesterday. And so she was stuck with her Basal, and I was like, the school called me, and I had just been there, drove 50 miles up to get my grandson because he was not feeling well, got back home and had to drive back up there to get her.
50? Did you say 50 miles?
I called him. I said, pull that pod off of her right now.
It's going to take you too long to get there. She took it off till you could get there.
Right.
So she wouldn't be getting the extra insulin she didn't need.
Right.
Interesting. But you're like you're like MacGyver over there.
She got up to 154 before I got there. It took me about 25 minutes.
Okay.
So
put a new pump on, put new settings with it.
Well, I had to bring her whole phone home and
reprogram it.
Reprogram it.
Jeez. Wait, those kids go to school 50 miles from your house?
No, they're 25 miles out, but I was in town yesterday when they called.
Oh, and you were farther away when it happened. I got it.
Yeah.
All right. I don't pretend to understand where you live. It sounds like you live in the middle of a forest.
I live in a place called Tulips, Washington.
Wait a second. Don't go anywhere. I was about to say goodbye, but now it's not happening. That's a real place. You didn't make that up. I'll be damned.
That's a real place.
So is there another meaning to hump tulips, or do you live in Tulip, Washington? What's going on?
Well, there's a couple of different meanings for hump tulips, but
all right, I'll figure that out later. My God. I can't thank you enough for doing this with me. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, it was fun.
No, I had a great time. Are you kidding me? Fun. This is the best podcast I've ever done in my life. I expect to be nominated for an award for this. I don't know where, but I want it to happen. I had a wonderful, you really are, you were just unexpectedly delightful and insightful. I didn't know what to expect. I would like to have more conversations with type 2s. And if they're listening, I want them to know that what I expect is that most of the conversation is going to be you saying, I don't know, but I think, I think there's some value in hearing that other people don't know, because, then someone listening, whether they have type 1 or type 2, maybe they'll feel a little less like a failure for not understanding, and maybe that's the first step to kind of finding your balls and going for it,
Right. It's hard. It's really hard when you do feel like a failure, because you're doing everything they tell you to do and you're not getting anywhere. You're pedaling backwards because there's damage being done to your body. My doctor told me to just make sure my morning blood sugars were 150.
That was your goal.
That was the goal. Yep.
Yeah. Try not to die right away, but you won't live too long. But what are we going to do? Right. That whole vibe.
And I just kept thinking, who's going to take care of all these kids?
No kidding. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of kids. How by the way, how old are you? 50?
I'll be 52 tomorrow.
52 tomorrow. And how young is the youngest kid?
8.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you need to make it into your 60s, at least, just to get that one out of there.
Right.
Yeah. And how about for you, by the way? Like, I'm sure there's things you'd like to do. Chief among them, not be aching just all day long and in pain from just cleaning the house and stuff like that. You deserve to live well.
Well, my goal when I started having children, my goal was to be done and have all the kids out of the house by the time I was 40.
You that up. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Got that pretty wrong. Well,
now I'm going for 65.
65. I'm hoping to own something that I enjoy once before I die. Like, that's how I think about it. Like, as all the money goes out the door for all the things for the kids, every once in a while, I'm like, I wonder what I would have done with that money if they weren't here. Like, would I have just saved it? Maybe that would have been nice, or bought something nice, or gone on a vacation. Like, I haven't been on you said you went on a vacation. I got jealous. I was like, ugh. That sounds nice.
We go somewhere just about every year, be it home to Alaska or, I took them on a 6-week vacation to Las Vegas.
You went to Vegas? What do you do in Vegas for 6 weeks with kids?
Well, we rented a house and had a pool and
just hung out. Damn, that sounds like the right idea. All right, Leanne, I'm doing that. So just like an Airbnb or something? You just jumped in and...
Why not?
No kidding. Yeah, I'm thinking of things.
I'm kind of crazy like that, though,
Oh, listen, whatever kind of crazy you are is working fine. So you're okay. That's amazing. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. Can you hold on for 1 second?
Uh-huh.
Thanks. First, I want to thank Leanne for sharing her Type 2 story. I'd also like to thank Dexcom, makers of the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor, and Omnipod, makers of the Omnipod DASH. I'm also going to remind you to go to dexcom.com/juicebox to learn more about the Dexcom G6 and check out that free 10-day trial possibility. While you're on the internet, you can also go to omnipod.com/juicebox. See about the possibility of their 30-day free trial of the Omnipod DASH, or just get started right now. Just jump in, baby. If you're using insulin, these devices are for you. The next time you see a Type 2 story pop up on your feed, it will be with John, but we need more people to share their stories. So I need you to reach out. If you have a Type 2 story that you want to tell, find me, okay? Go to juiceboxpodcast.com, and there's a link there where you can send me an email. I hope to hear from you. Don't forget, if you have type 1 diabetes and you're a U.S. resident, or you're the caregiver of a type 1 and a U.S. resident, you can go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox right now. Take a survey that will take you fewer than 10 minutes that will help people living with type 1 diabetes and support the podcast and make you feel good because you're doing good stuff. And it does other stuff too. You'll read about it when you get to the link. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Please subscribe and follow in the podcast app that you're listening in right now. That's all I've got for you. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.